Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And today I'm going to be on the quest for that game. You know, that game that scratches that itch that you want to have. I've been playing this game now for, goodness gracious, this will be the 10th year that I've been playing World of Tanks since closed beta. Outrageous stuff. And the thing that keeps me playing this game is the quest. It's the search for that carry. It's the search for that rush of adrenaline. I can feel like I'm getting crawling or itchy when I think about it. It's the excitement of having the game where you feel like you've either come back from a huge disadvantage, or the fact that you're putting yourself at a disadvantage right from the get-go when you're playing a tank like this, the tier 10 British light tank, the Manticore, which I don't think anyone is going to claim as the most competitive tank inside the game. That's one of the reasons why I actually enjoy playing this vehicle. No, it's not because I'm a masochist. Well, I guess I might be if I'm choosing to play this tank, right? It's just, I feel that if I do well in this vehicle, it's something that's worthwhile. It's not that we're using every single overpowered vehicle. It's not that we're deciding to try and squeeze out as much damage as we possibly can. It's that we're trying to play a tank that is a bit of an underdog, and I love being an underdog in World of Tanks. It's one of the reasons why I liked the XVM statistics, although I'm no longer using them, is because you could tell when your team was at a massive disadvantage, and you knew when it was time to turn it on and really try and carry for the team. The Manticore ticks all of those boxes. Now, when you're playing a tank like this, you've got to be extra sneaky, and you'll notice that by knocking down that tree in that location, I've actually got a nice big bush that I can now drive out into. And just to prove that, I'm no longer spotted now. Let's go out into this bush and see if this M48 pattern is going to be able to spot us. No Sixth Sense popping until I fire, and then Sixth Sense goes off. Can you believe that? Absolutely outrageous. We're going to be using that more and more. Although a vehicle like this, a tiny little tank with incredibly good camo rating, is going to be able to use a sneaky tree location like this way better than a big chonky tank is going to be able to. But it's about this. It's about when you don't have incredible hold down capacity, when you don't have things like damage per minute, and when, as you can see over here, you're not even carrying enough ammunition to pretty much deal with many tanks on the enemy team, let alone when you're really pushed for it at the end of a round. You've got to try and squeeze out every little advantage you can. And I think that as World of Tanks goes on, it's not so satisfying to be able to play tanks like the 279E. You know, I'm done with tanks like the T29. They're a great vehicle, but just what do I get from playing an incredible, one of the best heavy tanks, in my opinion, tier for tier in the game, that's a hold down monster at tier 7 playing against mid-tier players? Nah, I'm on that quest, you know, that to scratch that itch at tier 10 to try and play against the best players, and I want to put myself at a disadvantage to make it even more so. So I actually fire really badly there. I was aiming for the track at the back of the Grillo. I didn't want to get spotted, and believe it or not, we didn't actually get spotted while we were in the bush there. Now, a miss like that in the Manticore, I guess it was a bit greedy to be able to go for his tracks, but it's incredibly painful considering the amount of ammunition that this vehicle carries. We are just talking about carrying an ammo capacity of 20. That's absolutely pathetic. Even if you penetrate every single shell that this vehicle fires, you're still only able to do 7,800 damage in the battle. And what, are you telling me that I shouldn't fire on the move? I shouldn't take the chancy shots to try and kill the UDES like every other vehicle would, and hope that you're able to hit that shell so that then he doesn't put the return fire into you? It's almost as if that Manticore is at so much of a disadvantage like that. It's absolutely wild. Can't believe that Wargaming have decided to try and balance out a tank, even though this tank really, in my opinion, doesn't need balancing, by just reducing the ammo capacity that much. Oh, well, this is something I really like in World of Tanks, right? That situation where you've managed to get behind the artillery and there's not much the guy can do, and I guess he's going to try and just reverse into me to do a little bit of reverse damage. How about no? Can you believe how long we have to cover in this tank for that reload? It's got a 14-second base reload time. It's absolutely outrageous how long you have to reload in the Manticore to do 390 damage. This kind of feels more like a tier 8 or a tier 9 tank. It definitely doesn't feel like a tier 10 vehicle. And it doesn't have the best gun handling in the world either. 1.9 seconds aim time isn't too shabby, but 0.16 dispersion when moving and 0.08 on the turret traverse definitely isn't anything to write home about. One thing that is quite nice about this vehicle, however, is that the gun is right at the top of the tank. You can see that the forehead of this vehicle is practically non-existent, which means that I'm actually very happy as I press my Windows key there, whoops, instead of my control key to highlight it, that the forehead of this tank is just so small. So I'm actually quite happy to poke at this thing, or shall I say to poke with this thing over a ridgeline. Okay, so we haven't been able to break our way through that flank, pretty much because of the poor damage per minute that this vehicle has. So we've taken a while, so we've got to try and form a second plan. And that is that I'm going to try and work with this T49 on my team. Now, we don't know if this player is using the anonymizer, but El Contos doesn't sound like an anonymizer name to me, mate. It was an absolute pleasure to see you want to jump in together and be able to handle this situation. Good lord, we're starting to run low on ammunition, even though we've only done 2,600 damage. We've got 6 APCR shells and 1 high explosive shell that hopefully we're going to make better use of later. And this is a precious shot. I take my time with this one. And there you go, clean as a whistle. Really couldn't afford to miss that shell because every shot counts right now in the Manticore with 5 armor-piercing shells or APCR shells left in the tank. How am I going to deal with 4 tanks on the enemy team? And that's why it's so important that I work with my allies. I asked the T49 to come with me, and as you see that I say here, I tell him I've got 5 shots left. You've got to try and communicate that as much as you can so you don't give unrealistic expectations to your teammates and so they understand the gravity of the situation that you have put yourself into by playing the Manticore. So I asked the T49 and friends to be able to kill the Bat Chatillon first, because of course if we kill the Bat Chatillon first, which is one of the most dangerous autoloaders on the enemy team that could kill both of us in a single magazine, while the Skoda isn't able to kill both of us. He can't even kill me with a single magazine. If we can kill the Bat Chat first, I feel like that's where we're going to be strongest. So I asked the T49 to come with me. Looks like the T49 is actually going to come with me. But the T49 at this moment actually decides to swing towards the north. I ask him to come south, but the T49 respectfully declines, and he wants to try and handle the 257. You know what? I can't blame him for that, but I really feel that at the moment I was almost willing to sacrifice the artillery, and I don't think the enemy team are going to push out because they're defending to try and hunt down the more dangerous medium tanks on the enemy team. Now remember, we are assaulting on Siegfried Line, which means that we have to take out all of the enemy vehicles or it will be a defeat. I love these kind of assault games. No draws. One team is forced to attack, and I think when one team actually attacks rather than this kind of nothing game of World of Tanks where both teams are like, you come at me, bro, no, you come at me, bro. It kind of ended up like the whole esports thing in World of Tanks back in 2014, 2015, where it just didn't really work out, and then they figured out we had to actually play assault maps to be able to try and make it work, because otherwise teams are very happy to just sit back and camp. So unfortunately for me, the T49 gets shut down by the T30. I really wish that he'd come in to this part of the flank and would have been able to be together. But now with 4 shots left and 2 minutes left on the game, it's looking like this game is an absolute disaster. So the 257 manages to clunk a big old shell into me. I need to fire down on his upper hull armor, and a good connection there. And oh dear, there's the Bat Chat. We fluff a little bit of driving away from the UDES. The Bat Chat connects 1 shell into us. So that's 1. He's got about 4 shots left if he's fully loaded. Am I going to fire that one on the move? Oh, it's all going Pete Tong, boys and girls. Completely wrong right now. We got 2 APCR shells, and I'm just praying that my artillery is going to do work. But that's the 3rd shell from the Bat Chat. He's only got 2 left. So I fire one at him on the move. He misses me completely, and I'm just praying, come on, artillery. I mean, what does the team want from me right now? I'm running rings around multiple vehicles in my Manticore, and I figure out, okay, got to kill the T30, and it looks like the Bat Chat is actually reloading now. I can tell because he's running away from me, and I'm down to my last Hess shell. All right, the Hess shell, it has 480 average damage. Should be an easy kill, right, if I manage to penetrate the back of the tank. Oh, I roll for 387 out of 480, leaving the Bat Chat on 5 hit points. Thank you, World of Tanks. I'm completely out of ammunition, so my plan now is to ram the Bat Chat, but oh dear, the 257 kills me. But come on, artillery! No! Oh, come on! No, we lined them up for our artillery. That could have been the Bombardier Medal of this decade. I know the decade's only about 26 days old, but wow. That would have been probably one of the hits of the century if that one had managed to go in, right? Unfortunately for me, the artillery misses. I wave my hands up in the air, scream out just my complete sense of disappointment. But with 28 seconds left on the game, there's a chance, boys and girls. The 257 is actually making his way towards the Jagdpanzer. The Jagdpanzer finishes him off. And now, surely the Bat Chat must be hiding towards the northern flank. Will the Jagdpanzer manage to be able to crest the ridge? Will the Jagdpanzer manage to be able to find the Bat Chat with 9 seconds left on the game? Oh my lord, the Bat Chat gets spotted by the Conqueror gun carriage, and the Conqueror gun carriage has now 1 second. in complete disbelief. With literally a second left on the game, the artillery makes up for the complete whiff and the lack of the Bombardier's medal and shuts down the Bat Chatillon, who was a complete and utter muppet for trying to go after the artillery in that situation. And we snatch this victory, certainly, from the jaws of defeat. And it really is games like these as to why I am still just completely in love with this game after 10 years. You can play your terrible tanks. Then your terrible tanks can run rings around the enemy with a bit of bold, aggressive play. Sure, we got lucky, but we had to put ourselves in that situation to do so. It's the opportunity for the ridiculous. It's the opportunity for the incredible. And while I've managed to get hints of that in other games, nothing quite does it for me like World of Tanks. I think it's sometimes the longer battles, it's the narrative, it's the way that all of the different moments have consequence. The low rolls, the bounces, the ricochets, the fact that players decide to work with you and then they decide to go their own way. It doesn't work out for them, so you have to be able to do it yourself. That hit, that miss, that fire, that ammo rack. Sure, a lot of people don't like the RNG in World of Tanks. And trust me, when it's not going my way, I am definitely one of them, but I'll be darned if it doesn't make for some stellar replays. So this was an ace tanker for the Manticore here, 4,600 damage dealt and 1,700 assistance. Shout out to the artillery, Skoven Gore, for being able to take that one down. And also, you know, Robert Wozniak in their Jagdpanzer, who managed to come through at the end of the game. It's always interesting when 3 players manage to take down 80% of the enemy team, but unfortunately I did lose credits here. You have to lose credits in the Manticore in these long-winded games because you just can't carry enough of each type of ammunition. Don't take those APCR rounds. Well, you're not going to be penning that mouse, even from the side, from most distances, reliably. Oh, you took too many APCR rounds? Well, now you don't have the standard ammunition for those games where you fire very few rounds in a nice matchup at those tier 8 tanks. So frustrating, this vehicle. I really wish that Wargaming would give it more ammunition and more gun elevation, but in a way, I also hope they don't, because I've got a little gem that I love playing to really, you know, step on up, play with a handicap. And sometimes, after you've played a game for a decade, you need just that. Winning by itself is not enough anymore. You need to have these kind of epic rounds to really scratch that itch. So that's it for today, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching the video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, out of the 611 of you who have voted, the winner is the T110E4. So come along right now as I play turreted American tank destroyers. They're tank destroyers that try to be both. Tank destroyers and also heavy tanks have the flexibility but also want to have those big guns. It usually is a dependable line, and so I'm looking forward to showcasing the entirety of it right now. And so, looking forward to seeing you on Twitch. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.